In an elementary school in Ohio, a 9-year-old finishes last in the 400-meter run, 90 seconds behind the next slowest kid. His face is red. His classmates are already on their phones. He's not the slowest kid in the world. He's just the slowest in his class. But on the scoreboard of evolution, where there were no participation trophies, no second chances, no school nurses, what would have happened to him? Every parent of a slow kid, slow runner, slow learner, slow to talk, slow to read, eventually thinks the same dark question. Would my kid have survived back then? The answer is more surprising than you've been told. And it tells us something uncomfortable about how we measure children today. There's a common story about evolution. Survival of the fittest. The fast ate, the slow died. Natural selection was brutal, especially for kids. In this story, the slowest child in a Pleistocene tribe, the one who couldn't run from predators, couldn't keep up during migrations, couldn't learn the calls fast enough, was a liability, a weight on the group, and in resource-scarce environments, weights got dropped. For a long time, this is what anthropologists believed. Then in 1957, archaeologists in northern Iraq found something that shattered this story. In a cave called Shanidar, they uncovered a Neanderthal skeleton, a male, about 40 years old at death. His right arm had been amputated at the elbow. He was blind in his left eye. He had a crushing injury on his skull that left him with brain damage, and his right foot had a healed fracture so severe he couldn't have walked without help. This person had been blind, brain damaged, one-armed, and lame for decades, which means someone took care of him for decades in a society that supposedly left the weak to die. This man, Shanidar one, lived to be 40, surrounded by people who fed him, helped him walk, and buried him with flowers when he died. And he is not alone. Every major hunter-gatherer site we've excavated since tells the same story. Here's what most modern parents don't know about hunter-gatherer tribes. Speed wasn't a single test. It was one trait among dozens, and tribes were structured to need all of them. The fastest kid hunted, but the fastest kid also got killed in hunts. The slowest kid watched, learned, remembered. Forager societies needed someone who tracked weather patterns, someone who remembered where every plant grew, someone who watched children, someone who repaired tools, someone who told stories around the fire. In a tribe of 30 people, you needed about 12 different skill sets. Speed was just one. Patience, observation, memory, social intuition, manual dexterity. Each had a role. And the kid who failed at running was often the kid who excelled at something else. And here's the second piece. In an earlier video, we talked about cooperative breeding. How human children evolved to be raised by entire tribes, not single parents. This system had a side effect that changed everything. Because no single mother was responsible for any single child, a slow child didn't bankrupt a single family's resources. The group absorbed the cost. A slow learner had a dozen teachers. A weak hunter had a dozen feeders. A clumsy child had a dozen people watching them grow. Cooperative breeding didn't just make raising kids easier. It made it survivable for kids who would otherwise have been weeded out. And there's a third piece. Modern researchers studying ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and other neurodivergent profiles have found something unexpected. These traits aren't just disorders, they're adaptations that may have served specific tribal functions. The ADH, D-pattern brain, distractible, hyper-focused on novelty, may have made excellent hunters and scouts. The autistic pattern brain, pattern-obsessed, detail-driven, systemizing, may have made excellent toolmakers and trackers. The dyslexic brain, strong spatial reasoning, weak symbol processing, may have made excellent terrain readers and navigators. In a world without classrooms, these weren't disorders, they were specialties. Could we? Now combine those tribal realities with the modern world. We've created an environment that measures children on a single scale: speed. How fast they read, how fast they finish a test, how fast they learn the alphabet, how fast they finish the mile run. We rank them against each other on the same handful of metrics. And the child who fails at this, the slow reader, the slow runner, the slow learner, gets a label: a ADHD, learning disability, behind grade level. In a tribe, that same child would have been the one who knew where the berries grew, who calmed the upset baby, who watched the fire while others slept, who saw the predator. Others missed. Speed wasn't the only thing measured. So slow wasn't a sentence. But there's a harder truth we can't skip. Not every slow kid in every tribe survived resource scarce periods, famines, droughts, brutal winters. We're unforgiving. There are documented cases of infanticide of clearly unfit infants in some forager societies. The story isn't entirely warm. But the broader pattern, the one supported by 50 years of bones and 100 archaeological sites, is that tribes overwhelmingly cared for their slow ones, their disabled ones, their late bloomers, because tribes had room for them, because the role of slow wasn't a death sentence, it was a niche. What changed? Wasn't the children. It was the system we put them in. So when our 9-year-old finished last in the 400-meter run, here's what was actually happening. A child whose brain might have made an excellent watcher, observer, builder, healer, or storyteller in another context was being measured by one metric his ancestors never used as the deciding metric. He wasn't slow at being a human. He was slow at running. Those are different things. Your slow kid, whatever slow means in your house, is not broken. Your slow kid is being measured on a scale their evolutionary ancestors never used, as the only scale. And somewhere, in a tribe of 30 people on a savanna, 200,000 years ago, a child very much like yours was watching, listening, learning, and being kept alive by an entire community that knew speed was just one of many ways to belong. This changed how you see your child. We have more. Pick your next rabbit hole, and welcome to the tribe.